Say, aren't you Margaret Elliott?
Yes, I am.
You know, people who watch this movie will wonder, now, is this Bette Davis's story?
You don't know what it means to stand in front of the camera again.
But you have to remember that Hollywood always exaggerates.
She knew that it was not a film about Bette Davis, or she wouldn't have done it, but she saw in it a great part and a great story about Hollywood.
You tell this Janie Marks your mother is a star.
I know you were, but are you now?
Well, if you're a star, you don't stop being a star.
One interesting aspect of The Star, which can be said to stand in for any washed-up actress in Hollywood of a certain age, is that it was not based on Bette Davis, basically. She played it, and there were a few parallels, but it was based more on Joan Crawford by the scriptwriters who knew Joan Crawford and used some of her mannerisms.
I am Margaret Elliott, and I intend to stay Margaret Elliott.
Bette Davis didn't really like Joan Crawford, but Joan Crawford seemed to like Bette Davis well enough. And I think that there's so much was said, and they read so much about not liking each other, that finally they both believed what they read.
Margaret, that's not the way real people live.
It isn't.
Margaret Elliott is a washed-up movie star now. She is someone who has won an Oscar, so we know she has talent.
Come on, Oscar. Let you and me get drunk.
Bette Davis was peerless. She was what I think of as an actress. That, to me, is what an actress is supposed to be.
Bette Davis was, of course, a star, but as she always said, I am an actress first, a star second.
Bette Davis always thought of herself as odd-looking, and that it was her great challenge that she became a star against all odds.
She had no personal vanity. She'd do anything for the character.
Elliott, you look a little young for this part.
Really? Well, women of 42 these days don't have to look ready for the old lady's home.
Bette Davis actually carried her own Oscar in the drunk driving scene. And she said she felt comfortable with her Oscar coming along.
And that Oscar was the home of the wealthy, exciting, glamorous Margaret Elliott.
Margaret Elliott in The Star, of course, has a troubled family life in terms of she's not being able to hang on to husbands. She does have her daughter, whom she loves, but can't see that often because of her situation. And this sister and brother-in-law that she finally cuts herself off from.
Can't you get it through your thick skull that I'm broke? Dead, flat, stony broke?
Actually, in real life, Bette was so concerned about being able to take good care of her mother because her mother had been her whole support system.
She definitely was full of generosity.
Bette Davis, as a mother, doesn't seem that bad, really. She, was very supportive in every way, financially and emotionally. Worshipped her daughter.
She supported her younger sister. She supported her mother, who had been very supportive toward her, very nurturing. She and her mother had a wonderful relationship.
You were making all that money. I still don't see where it all went. I'll explain it to you. I bought the house you're living in. You promised to pay me back, remember? And I paid for the birth of the twins, their clothes, their saxophone lessons, and Roy's 4 operations.
For a time in the early 40s, Bette was the highest paid actress in Hollywood. In the end, she always cared more about the career, the working, the making of the films, the finished film, than she did about the money.
She was never a diva in the work sense. She was a workhorse.
Now, Maggie, remember me? I'm your friend.
Then get me that part in The Fatal Winter.
Bette was famous for arguing with the studio, Warner Brothers.
Bette Davis was a very determined woman, and a number of roles, even later on, after she was a 2-time Oscar winner, she really had to fight for.
If I was on top, put my name on the marquee of any theater, there'd be a line around the block. But I was sick of the tripe they were forcing me to play.
I read how you hollered about that.
So I put my own money into 3 wonderful pictures. The big companies wouldn't give me a decent release, so I lost everything. They said I was box office poison.
Bette Davis, when The Star came out, was already a very important and prominent actress, but there she was, really having a tremendous public for anything that she did. So she received the Best Actress nomination, which wasn't expected by the producers.
I wanted to talk to you about a script I have I thought you might be interested in.
At the end of the film, the Margaret Elliott character is offered a new script, and it is described to her in such a way that it finally strikes home to Margaret Elliott. They're talking about me, this pathetic movie star who has nothing in life but looking forward to the next role, anything for a role, staying on top for the sake of it.
This is your Simon Pure movie star, like the ones that play it 24 hours a day, thinking of themselves and what they look like, what kind of an impression they're making. Demanding, driving, ambitious.
There's a lot of truth in it, but true or not, or to whatever degree it might be exaggerated, such as driving through the night drunk, clutching an Oscar. It's a fun film, it's a compelling film, and it certainly is one of the unforgettable films about behind-the-scenes Hollywood.
Joe?
Margaret, you're looking wonderful.
Well, thanks. I never felt better in my life.
How's that lovely little daughter of yours?
Oh, she's very well, thank you.
I think people like to see movies about the movie business because they want the real dirt. They're aware that show business is a business about show, not about reality, and they want to see what it is really like.
We're all fascinated by Hollywood, so films about Hollywood have an ongoing appeal that never goes away.
Look at it this way, Margaret. You've had a sleigh ride. It was swell while it lasted. Now it's over.
It's not over. It'll never be over.
There's a lot of resonating between what she played and what she herself was. And to play it that nakedly and sincerely, well, obviously she was rewarded with an Oscar nomination, and deservedly so.
In a very fickle industry where the lifespan of an actress is generally 5 years, Bette Davis survived decades.
The idea that people still want to see her pictures, and maybe more people are seeing her films now than saw them even when they were first being done, has secured her place as an icon of the 20th century.
So here we are, over half a century later, still discussing this film and this star who played the star.